In this lesson, we'll talk about dictionaries. So we've gone through lists, sets, tuples, and then dictionaries. So there's might be some confusing items here. Let's do a review again. So do list, again, square brackets. Sets are curly brackets. Then we have tuples, which are parentheses. Now for a dictionary, if I do my dict, this is also using curly brackets. The only difference between my dict and my set is that this one uses a key, colon, oops, and a value. This represents your dictionary. So if I would print now my dictionary, you see my key and value. We can add more items in here. You separate that with a comma, and we can say, for example, first name, colon, and then we can put John as a first name. And then we can do last name, colon, and then we can put Wick. Yeah. So if you run this, you see it's in this case. What's nice about this one, you can format it in this particular manner so that it's easier for you to understand what's going on. So it's always going to be a key and value pair. This is not a header, okay? So this is not a database. So these are actually values inside your dictionary. So key and value is always going to be a pair. Just remember that in dictionaries, you're still using the curly bracket. Your sets are also using curly brackets. Main difference is in a dictionary, you have your key and value pair. Now, how do you access the items inside? So once you've printed it. So if you want to print, for example, a particular value, let's say you wanted to get the first name, you could use, so you specify your variable, so my dictionary, and you can use get, and you say get first name. And if you run that, then you get the first name as John. Okay? And of course, you can always insert that in a formatted string and say first name, colon, close that. Again, don't get confused with the curly brackets that are here. These are for your placeholders. And you get the first name is John. So that's how you would access the content inside. The easier way of doing this is instead of doing that, so let me copy this, put it down here. Instead of using get, you can simply enclose this in a square bracket. Okay, make sure you keep the quotes because this is a string. And if you run it, you get the same output. So you don't need to use get. You can simply access it as if it were a list and simply use the square bracket to access the key, the value based on the key that is provided. If you want to see all the keys that are inside a dictionary, let's say you're not aware of what those are, you can actually do a print. So let's do my dictionary, and we can do keys and print all the keys inside. So you can see you have now key, first name, and last name, which are these: key, first name, and last name. And then you can actually access each one of those as you go along. So since you know which ones the keys are, then you can print. So if you want to display all of these, you can say for keys in my dictionary, and you can do a print of your, let's say, let's do a format here so that it's clear. We could say the key, let's not do keys, let's do key, so it's clear for key, and then we do a colon. Okay, so now we're accessing the key, and then we can now put in the value. So how do we access the value? We can say my dictionary, we can do get if you want to, or now we can specify in bracket the actual key. Now, where is that key coming from? The key is coming from here. So now we do key, close that. And if you run that, notice that you have your key and value. This is your key first name, the value is John. The key is last name, and the value is Wick. Now, if you want to change items inside, you can use the updates. For example, I want to change the name of the last name. I can do my dictionary dot update. But in the update, I now have to specify the actual form of the dictionary. So say I want to update my first name, and I want to change that into Jane, and close that. And now let's print my dictionary. And you notice now the first name has changed to Jane. So that's using update. Now you specify the key and you specify the value. Easier way of doing this is you can do my dictionary and then specify the key, because remember that's how we accessed it in the first time up here, and then just give it the new value. Since we did Jane, I'm going to do James. Now let's print it first before anything else. So print my dictionary, and then we'll change the first name to James, and then we'll print it again so that we can see the change. So notice first, our first name was Jane. We use this format, and then we change it to James. Okay, so that's the easier way of being able to put it in. Now, if you want to remove the item, for example, so if I want to remove, I don't want to have this key value here. So let's print this, my dictionary. And then I don't want that key value there anymore. I can say my dictionary, and I can say pop, similar to how we did this with lists. And I want to remove key. And after remove key, let's print my dictionary. And I think I made the mistake somewhere. Oh yes, so we printed it first. We have key value still present there. And then we removed the key value pair with the key. And then now you see we only have first name, last name present in the dictionary. So how do we add into a dictionary? So we've already done the update. We've already done the changes. Now we can do, how do we add? So we have first name, last name. Let's say we wanted to add age. The easiest way of doing this is, again, do a print so that we can see. We can simply do my dict. Now, remember in lists, you cannot give it an extra index number. So let's say if you only have 4 items, you cannot go to index number 4 because that will be beyond the total number of items inside the list. For dictionaries, it's different. So we have first name and last name. You want to add age, you simply create the key and then add the value. So if we print this now, notice that before we only had first name and last name, and then we say my dictionary, give it a new key, give it a value, and it automatically adds it to the dictionary. So dictionaries are in my opinion, the easiest data type available here when we want to store multiple values, because you can simply specify the key and you gain access to the contents inside. And I've already showed you how to access the items using the key and the value by using the for loop. So this is how you do it with dictionaries. That'll be all we call for dictionaries. I'll see you in the next lesson.